Chandra Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Alright, so yesterday we were reading here that Shama or equilibrium of the mind is achieved by one who has concluded. So only such a person can have equilibrium of mind or controlling it, or the ability to control his senses only comes when one has concluded that Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original source of everything, Sarva Karana Karanam. And when one who can control the senses, that is called Shama. When one is ready to tolerate all kinds of sufferings, to control the senses and to keep the mind steady, that is called titiksha or tolerance. If we are somewhere outside and we are feeling very hungry, but there is no prasad available, and it is maybe a matter of few hours, not that we have to stay hungry for days at end, not that, maybe few hours. Then if somebody is feeling that urge that I want to have something, I need to eat, I want to eat something, unless they have some physical difficulties because of that, that is a different thing, but just a hunger, and they say that no, just because this is not prasad, I will not accept anything, I will wait for going back home and accept only prasad. That is, we are tolerating that suffering to control the senses, to control the urge of the tongue to eat something which is not Krishna prasad. So that will keep the mind steady. Eventually, that is what will bring the mind and make the mind steady. So, Shama. And such kind of tolerance is called titiksha. When one can control the urges of the tongue and the genitals, that is called dhritihi. One who has attained dhritihi is a dheer, a pacified person. A pacified person is never disturbed by the urges of the tongue and the genitals. One who can fix his mind on Krishna without deviation attains Shantaras, the steadfast position in Krishna consciousness. One in Shantaras exhibits two main qualities: unflinching faith in Krishna and the cessation of all material desires. That is, all material desires end. The desire to have material things or material pleasure is stopped completely. Cessation, it ceases, stops. So when somebody is in Shantaras, they have unflinching faith in Krishna and their material desires are stopped. That is Shantaras. These specific characteristics of Shantaras, that is unflinching faith in Krishna and the cessation of all desires which are not connected with Krishna. It is not saying that all desires will stop, we will become desireless. No, that is not being said here. What is being said? Desires that are not connected with Krishna, that is stopped. Any desire that is to do with Krishna, for the service of Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna, they will increase. But anything that is not to do with Krishna will stop. And unflinching faith in Krishna. These specific characteristics of Shantaras are common to all the other rasas as well. Just as sound is present not only in the sky where it is produced, but it is also in all the other elements. There is sound in air, there is sound in fire, there is sound in water also, and there is sound in the earth, the soil. So these two characteristics of Shantaras are also present in Dasyaras, in Sakhyaras, Vatsalyaras, and in Madhuraras. When we speak of desires that are not connected with Krishna or non-Krishna, this does not mean that anything exists without Krishna. That means Krishna is existing in everything. But so when we say that desires which are not connected with Krishna, does not mean that Krishna is not existing in those things. Krishna is existing in everything, in everything. Actually, there cannot be anything non-Krishna because everything is a product of the energy of Krishna. Since Krishna and his energies are identical, they are not same, but they are identical. Everything is Krishna indirectly. For example, the consciousness is common to every living entity, but when consciousness is centered solely on Krishna, which is called Krishna consciousness, then it is pure. Then such a consciousness is pure. And when consciousness is centered on something which is not Krishna, which is not related to Krishna, or when it is directed to personal sense gratification, then it may be called non-Krishna consciousness. Thus, it is in the polluted state that the conception of non-Krishna comes. In the pure state, however, there is nothing but Krishna consciousness. Active interest in Krishna, the understanding that Krishna is mine and I am Krishna's, and that my business is therefore to satisfy the senses of Krishna, is typical of a higher state than the Shantaras, than the neutrality of Shantaras. Shantaras is including two things. One is Krishna, unflinching faith in Krishna, and second is that what is the second thing? Unflinching faith in Krishna and the stopping of all material desires. This is there in all the other rasas also. But Krishna is mine and I am Krishna's. This is of a much higher stage than the Shantaras. Simply by understanding the greatness of Krishna, one achieves the status of Shantaras, in which the worshipable object may be the impersonal Brahman or Paramatma. So in Shantaras, someone who is in Shantaras may be actually in Paramatma realization or impersonal Brahman realization. But when somebody has this personal connection that I'm Krishna's and Krishna is mine, that is much higher than Shantaras. That is a stage higher than Shantaras. Because then now it is to do with Krishna, not impersonal Brahman or Paramatma. So worship of the impersonal Brahman and the Paramatma is conducted by those engaged in empiric philosophical speculation and mystic yoga. So somebody who is doing all these mystic yoga, or somebody who is in Gyan Yoga, by studying, by personal endeavors, they are trying to understand the Supreme and what is beyond this, what is beyond, what is the highest. When they are trying to understand by their own intelligence and by acquiring knowledge through ascending method, not a descending. Ascending method means they are trying to get knowledge by themselves. So with their intelligence, they are trying to reach more and more higher information. Then what happens? So such people, they come to a point where they are worshipping impersonal Brahman or the Paramatma, that is the localized soul, the localized supreme soul within our hearts, because it is very difficult to go beyond that unless somebody accepts the Avarohi Pantha. The Arohi Pantha is from top to bottom. One is trying to reach to the highest by their own methods, by their own speculations. But Avarohi means from Krishna it is coming. So if somebody simply accepts the words of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, then it is not very difficult. Then they are never stuck in this impersonal Brahman or Paramatma realization. They are already on the top level. So they start from that level. But when one develops even further in Krishna consciousness or in spiritual understanding, he can appreciate that the Paramatma, that is the super soul, is his eternal worshipable object and master, and he surrenders unto him. Devotees always see Krishna, the two-handed form of Krishna, the three-fold bending form of Krishna within their heart as Paramatma. But others, they do not realize this. It is very difficult for the others, those who are philosophical speculators and mystic yogis, for them it is very difficult to understand this. But for the devotees, they can always see Paramatma in the two-handed form, in the beautiful threefold bent form, Tribhanga Murari. Bahunam janmanam ante gnanavam mam prapadyate. Bhagavad Gita 7.19. That after many births of worshipping Brahman and Paramatma, when one surrenders unto Vasudev as the Supreme Master and accepts himself as the eternal servant of Vasudev, that I am the eternal servant of Krishna, I am the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, and that he becomes a great transcendentally realized soul. At that time, due to his intimate relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the devotee begins to render some sort of transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the neutral relationship known as Shantaras is transformed into Dasyaras, servitorship. When the person starts doing some devotional service, then it is transformed into Dasyaras, not Rati, Dasyaras. So, Krishna willing, we'll stop here and we'll continue reading tomorrow. There's also, yeah, so here it is said that after many births of worshipping Brahman and Paramatma, we may also have done all these things in other births. We may have already done all these things, and by the mercy of Vaishnavas, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, now in this birth, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are now here, listening about Krishna, trying to do practicing some Krishna consciousness by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master. So, thank you, devotees. Yes, Prabhu, you have a question?
Yeah, I have just one, the curiosity is coming into mind to know